let's install some new rear rotors and brake pads on the 2nd gen Ford Explorer. Welcome everyone to the Derpzilla channel, and for today I'll be installing some fresh new power stop rear brake rotors and brake pads on my 2000 Ford Explorer. That's a 2nd gen Explorer, and these are the rotors that I'll be installing, and these are the brake pads. This is the Power Stop Evolution Plus ceramic disc brake pads with hardware kit. They come with the 2 little clips here, and then we have our Power Stop rear disc rotor here. And I have the one with that fancy coating on it that's supposed to prevent it from rusting quite as quickly. Now, of course, eventually it'll rust anyways, but I installed this exact same set on my wife's 2019 Ford Mustang EcoBoost. They're holding up strong. They look great. So yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get these installed. My 16-year-old daughter actually drives my Explorer more often than I do now, to and from school and whatnot. And she's been complaining about the brakes and front upper control arms, which will also be installing. So this video is for the rear rotors and pads. Next video will be on the front rotors and pads. Following video will be on the front upper control arms. I've actually replaced all of these items before many years ago, and it's about time for a little bit of a freshen up process. So yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. For the rear brake install, pretty easy. Don't really need very many tools. I of course have my trusty 2000 Ford Explorer service manual. You don't really need that. I love having this just for referencing on torque values and whatnot. But what you do need is going to be a ratchet of some sort, and you're going to need a 10mm socket, got right here, torque wrench, highly advised, and then of course if you have a lug nut like Gorilla Nuts, you're going to need your lug nut key. Screwdriver is always helpful to help do a little prying if need be, and then an impact is good, or a lug nut wrench. We're going to need, I believe it is a 13/16 if you have the Gorilla lug nuts. If you have the OEM lug nuts, I do not remember what size those are, so yeah, you have to check that yourself, or the lug nut wrench will actually, the 4-way will probably fit without an issue. You're gonna wanna jack up the rear of your car, put on some jack stands, chock the wheels so it doesn't roll away if you're on a decline, especially like I am. And yeah, I already have the rear lifted up on jack stands, and actually have my my jack actually on there as well. And I just lifted up the rear diff, slid in my jack stand underneath the lower control arms on both sides, and have it resting on that, and the jack as well for an extra little serious protection. I have some chocks on the front wheels so it doesn't roll away. You're going to want your rear, your e-brake not engaged for this, otherwise you won't be able to get the rotor off. And yeah, that's pretty much all you need. Not very much. 10mm. You're going to want, of course, some brake clean. You want some brake grease. Is always good. Help keep the squealing down a little bit. And yeah, that's about it. So if you're a little bit more high tech, you can get one of these caliper expansion tools. But I actually just usually end up using one of these and just kind of compress that caliper. You can pop the lid on your brake reservoir when you do that, if you have a little air in there when you actually compress that caliper, so you don't pop anything or seal or whatever. But yeah, pretty simple. The rears are really easy. So let's go ahead and get to the rear passenger side for me. I've already done the rear driver's side, so I can freshen myself up since it's been about 10 years since I've done this on this car. So we're gonna jump over to the passenger side and we'll knock that one out. Rear wheel is off. Next up, we're going to have to remove the caliper. Now, we do not need to fully remove the caliper, as in we don't have to remove the hydraulic line. We just need to remove the 2 10mm bolts that are back here. You can see they're actually, the right bolts. They have like a rubber squish accordion looking seal on the top one and the bottom one. That tells you that's the right bolt. You're gonna take it out with 10mm, and then you'll have to then pull the caliper up and away from the rotor, and you can lay it back here on your suspension, and just don't dangle it and let it flop around hanging by your brake line. Otherwise you could damage it, and then you'll be replacing brake lines, so that's never fun. Once we have this out of the way, rotor will just come straight off. So you just remove it, pull it right off right off towards you, and if it's stuck, you might have to tap it a few times with the hammer. It should come right off, and then we should be good to go to proceed to getting the brake pads removed, install the new rotor, new brake pads. Your 2 caliper bolts, as you can see here, make sure they're in good condition. If they are rusted or falling apart, you might need to clean them or replace them. Looks like the rear passenger side caliper should swing upward. If you need to, you can kind of pry with a screwdriver or something like that. Just pry up and then unlatch it from the rotor, and you can set it aside over here on your suspension. Remove these little metal clips or tabs, wherever these are. And then the rotor should unseat. And there we go, nice and dirty. This one is pretty old and crusty. Many years sitting and rusting. Never good for a car just to sit. So, all right, let's clean this up. I'm just going to hit it with some brake clean. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of my little steel brush here. Kind of clean off any of this contact area, surface areas and whatnot. You probably should be replacing your e-brake brake pad. This is this right here. Mine's kind of cracked, and of course I don't have one, so I'll be doing that for next time. So yeah, just don't be grinding on that, because that's for your e-brake. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this all up, and then we'll get the rotor installed, and then we'll remove the pads from the caliper, put the new ones on. Everything is wiped down, brushed down pretty decent. You know, I didn't do a full detailed job, just got it cleaned up pretty good. Any extra rust or anything cleaned up. And then make sure you do spray some brake clean on your new rotor. Give it a good wipe down. Make sure you don't have any packing grease or anything like that, or shipping lube on the rotor when you install it. So just give it a good wipe down with some brake clean. Should be good to go. Now go ahead and reinstall your new rotor. Try not to get it all dirty with my gloves here. And then I like to take one of my lug nuts, spin it on just to hold it in place, so when we're installing brake pads and caliper, we're not having to worry about your rotor falling off, which would suck. But yeah, now I'm going to go ahead and remove you see here, we got our brake pads, and they are installed differently on each side. So the one that's going to be when it's on the car here, closer to you, I guess the outside brake pad. This one you actually have to kind of pry. You want to actually push the little wing, and when you push, you can lift up and it will slide up. There's a little like a nub that goes inside the caliper here, and so when you push up and then you pull up, it kind of slides up, and then you have to do it on both sides, and then the pad should come off like so. And that's kind of see it. That's the little nub right here that you have to like push past, and they get it to go through this little slot right here. And then this one's actually almost is like a little I don't know, squishy thing. I don't know what they call it, but it's compresses inside the caliper, and then so when you pull it, you have to just have it pop free. So you can just push from both ends like so. It should clear it. Can be kind of tricky. And then there we go. So that's what I'm talking about. It's like a claw. I'm gonna get the claw out from within the caliper piston right here, and then I'm gonna spray this down real quick, clean up. Now your calipers might look different than mine. These are aftermarket calipers I replaced like 10-something years ago. Look pretty grimy. The shape and everything's gonna be the same, but mine came red, which now is grime red. And now we need to actually compress this piston back into the caliper, and we can do that with, you know, if you have a good enough tool that can go in here, the one you can twist and it'll push it. I just tend to use big pliers, so make sure you have your brake fluid cap removed, and then you can compress this. I'm gonna see if I can find that tool. This is what I'm going to be using. Hopefully it'll work. I didn't have any issues with the other side. I did have some weird issues with my wife's Mustang when I did the rear brake ones. One of them would not compress, but those are like a spinning piston. This is just a straight push-in piston, pretty simple. Shouldn't have any issue. But if you have a different car, you're watching this video, and it's got like almost like two ridges on the piston and like a front to the piston. It's not an open piston like this. There's a special tool that goes in there that locks into that, and you turn it, and it turns and compresses at the same time. You can get those at like AutoZone, wherever, you know, if you do the tool rental. This is just a straight compression one, so this one thankfully doesn't need any special tools. All right, my daughter stopped by, so I had to do a little quick pause there. But anyways, back to caliper. I sprayed this down, got it clean, yeah. I mean, it's grime clean. And then we got my caliper tool here. And then pretty much he's going to find a spot to grip onto. If you have a nice caliper, use a microfiber between the teeth and your caliper so you don't mangle it. Then we just give it a squeeze, and it should compress, as so. There we go. Nice and flush. Make sure your boot isn't ripped. Your caliper right here. That looks good. I don't see any damage or anything like that. Give it a little bit more. All right, we're good to go. Gonna go ahead and add a little grease right here and right here, and then I'll add these little, I don't know what these are, metal cover bracket thingies, and I'll pop those on, and then add a little grease to these as well. These will be interfacing with your brake pads, and you know, a little grease on here. Just don't get any grease on your rotor if you can. If you do, make sure you wipe it off with some brake cleaner or whatever, because you don't want greased rotors. It'll make braking a little bit more difficult. A nice hammer here. Right tool for the job. See, my old brake pads are looking pretty thin right here. These are my new ones, a little bit thicker. And yeah, the trick with these, I don't think it matters which, if your pads open like this or they lift up, they just have to do the same with both pads. I think I have mine switched. I'm not sure if I installed them upside down or whatever last time, and now I'm doing them the right way, or if there's the right way and I'm doing them, you know, the opposite. But so if you look, there's these notches, and then if you have right and left pads, the notch is going to be on one side or the other, and then the other side is a little bit ramped. The notches, when we install the caliper, they're going to be, well, here's the pad here. So the notch, man, try not to drop your brake pad like I just did, but thankfully it landed on the back. But yeah, so the notch is going to be, when you slide your caliper on, it's gonna slide on the notch, and then you're gonna swing it downward onto the other part. So this gives you that ramp here. So when it's in here, it'll let me take the caliper. We're gonna bring it in at the side over here, and then we're gonna sling it in to lock it in place. When I took them off, it went this way. I'm doing them this way because I installed it the other way on the other side. It doesn't really, from what I believe, is it shouldn't matter as long as it locks into place and they're the same. So you don't want a ramp on the top on one pad and a ramp on the bottom of the other pad, because then it won't be able to swing in place and lock, if that makes sense. So we're gonna go ahead and put these into the caliper. Add a little bit of grease to your piston where it interfaces with the brake pad. Get your little alien hand looking sprong, and you're just gonna line that up into the piston and try to squeeze it in place. It's kind of tricky since I'm trying to do this at a weird angle here, but it should just, make sure you don't punch an arm through the rubber boot portion. And then we'll try to squeeze it. There we go. And brake pad is in place, and we'll go ahead and do the next one. And here we are. Probably want to add some grease to the front here where the clip is going to sit over, and on the back side where the clip's going to glide over with that peg here to make it just install a little bit easier. I'm going to go ahead and add that grease here. I need a new brush. This thing is... pads are installed, and notice the clip-on hook is the same on each side. Now this is opposite of how I removed it, so to be 100% for sure, do it how you pull the, make sure you go one-to-one with the pads and remove them. And then, sorry, this is the slider section, and then this is the hook section. So the hook is what you install first, and then you swing it onto the slider. I'm gonna add some grease to this. Let's go ahead and swing the caliper in place. Now make sure you do push this out of the way. Otherwise you'll be banging into these boots here when you try to slide the caliper on. And as mentioned, you want to hook it to the hook section first, wrap it around the rotor, and then slide it into place like so. And like I said, mine's flipped. This is how all my other cars are. They flip downward. For some reason, this one flipped up. I don't know if I did them backwards 10 years ago or not. But either way, as long as it slots into place, it's solid. You should be good to go. You kind of straighten these up. And then I would suggest, if I can find them, okay, here we go. Get your caliper bolts like so. And then add a little bit of grease, not on the threads, but on the shaft area. Shaft her up, lube up the shaft, and then we'll go into these spots here. 20 foot-pound on these, so not very much. So just tighten up a little bit. Don't zap them on there with impact or anything crazy and rip your boot. Also, just make sure, like anything with your car, be investigating the boot. Make sure it's not ripped. Make sure none of this is ripped. Make sure the caliper is not leaking. You'll see brake fluid leaking out of it. I don't have any of that issue, so I should be good to go. I'll go ahead and lube this up, slide this in, and we'll get this tightened up. Oh yeah. All right, nice and lubed. And we'll torque her 20 foot-pound. I used my power tool to tighten them up, and I loosened them up a little bit just to make sure I was for sure under 20 because that's really low. And now I'll go ahead and retorque them, and should be good to go. There we have it. The rear brakes are done. Of course, do the same on the other side. And yeah, super easy. Next video will be front brakes. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Get the wheel back on. 100 foot-pound on your lug nuts. 20 foot-pound caliper bolts. And that's really the only torque values you need to know for this one. And make sure you give your new rotor a nice wipe down. And then if you're only doing the rears, make sure you do both sides, of course. If you're only doing rears, follow the braking procedure. For whatever brake rotors and pads you've got. I usually always do pads and rotors together, but if you just did pads, they also have a bed-in braking procedure. Follow the manufacturer guidelines for that. I'm going to be doing the fronts, so I'm not going to be doing the braking procedure until I do the fronts, but the car's not going to be driven until I do that, and then I'll do the braking procedure for power stop. That completes the rear brake install, rotors and pads for a second-gen Ford Explorer, and pretty much applies for any disc brake, rear disc brake setup. Didn't do the rear e-brake pad. If yours notice yours is cracked, falling apart, make sure you replace that as well. A lot of videos out that. I forgot to order one, so I'm not doing it. I'll probably replace it at another time. But yeah, sorry for the lack of videos lately. It's been pretty busy. I've been doing a lot of 3D printing. I don't know if you saw my 3D print emblem video for my Camaro back here. I've been doing a lot of 3D printing. I'm actually repairing some interior pieces, planning on 3D printing some of this. I noticed some stuff is broken. Actually trying to fix this tab here that broke off, and this piece is completely split. I'm going to try to map this out and 3D print a piece I can glue in to replace that. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of different stuff. I've always had a lot of medical problems, so I've been really busy with that and work and all that other fun stuff. I'm trying to get some more content out, hopefully get a little bit more regular schedule. So I'll be doing the front brake video next, followed by the front upper control arms. I'll be going with these bad boys right here. My entire bearing or whatever bushing is all completely tore up, so it's time to replace. I have Moog on there, right now, but the car sat so long, it's not good on suspension, so a lot of pieces are falling apart. Replacing those, hopefully to get rid of a sound, really annoying sleigh bell sound coming from the front end of the car. Hopefully that fixes that. I get it aligned in the front, should be good to go. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to subscribe, like, share, comment, follow, all that fun stuff. Check out my website, zilla.com, Z1LLA.com. And also have my shop. Now I have a shop.zilla.com and also my Etsy shop, which is, I believe it's zilla.com.etsy.com. Or I think you can go to etsy.zilla.com. I think I have that link together. But yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.